my professor, Reggie, for allowing me to be here today also. So as she said, my presentation is Embracing Diversity in Teaching, Differences Between Urban and Rural Educational Settings. So last fall, I was in the Urban Ed program right here in Chicago. And so just a little bit of background of myself and why I became interested in teaching. I have two younger brothers, and both of them were diagnosed with autism at a very young age, and so growing up I had to deal with that and all the new things that had to do with autism and stuff, and it was a predominantly new disability back then, and so there was not a lot of information that my family or I could deal with to be able to help my brothers throughout their educational experiences. And so that is something that allowed me to want to become a teacher and help those in need as well. And so I am a senior at Monmouth College, which is a very rural area, as most of these colleges are from. And so right here you can see the Monmouth sign, and there's about 9,900 residents in Monmouth, so it's really small. And so the Monmouth Roseville School District serves about 1,772 students, and that's based on the 2012-2013 school year. And so throughout my time at Monmouth, I was in Practicum. So for those of you who are unaware, Practicums are those that, when we're in our methods courses, we provide what we learn in those courses and out into the classrooms where we're placed in the district. And so I was in a 2nd, 3rd, and 6th grade classroom. Classroom sizes range from about 23 to 25, so no more than 25. Classroom assistants, there was always at least one person in every hour of the day helping the teachers out. And also resources, every classroom had smart boards, every classroom had a set of iPads, and there was also at least 2 computers for the students to be able to use. And so my educational experiences in Monmouth and in the district, it helped me really get a glance of what the rural education system is about. And so that helped me a lot with my teaching and prepare me for my student teaching, which was last fall. And so I decided to do the urban education program. Since I had that background in rural education, I wanted to further expand my ability to become a teacher and be aware of the urban experience. And so I applied and I was accepted, and so I was placed in Andrew Jackson Language Academy, and that's the view from my classroom, which is much better than a view of cornfields in Monmouth, so I prefer that view any day. And so CPS serves a total of 396,683 students. So that was a big gap from Monmouth to Chicago. And that's based on the 2014-2015-20 state enrollment. So that's current. So I student taught at Andrew Jackson Language Academy, which is a magnet school. And that magnet school attracts students to this particular school because of its language academy. So this school, it had a total of 5 languages that the students can start off from kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade. So when they graduate, they can predominantly be fluent in that language. And so the magnet schools are based on a lottery system. So if you apply and you get accepted, then you're able to go. But there's also a big waiting list. And also if you have an older sibling there, you get first choice also. And so my class size of my students, there was about 31 students in my classroom, so a big difference from 23 to 25 to now. And classroom assistance was also very minimal. We had a student with an IEP who in his IEP he had to have a one-on-one with him all the time. But that one-on-one was only just for that student, so my teacher was not allowed to use him to help around the classroom at all. Resources also, there was only one smart board in that whole entire school, which was in the library. So it was very different from when I was in Monmouth, where I had that accessibility of a smart board for my lesson plans compared to only having one in the library. So that was very different from what I had learned in Monmouth. You know, I had everything at my fingertips, a smart board, iPads, computers. That helped me with my lesson planning a lot. So when I came to Chicago, it was very different being able to transmit what I learned in Monmouth to Chicago because of the resources. And so I had that assumption that coming to an urban area, I would have just as many resources and assistance as I did in Monmouth in Chicago, but that wasn't the case at all. So it made lesson planning very difficult and something very difficult to adjust. And so with that, in Monmouth, my students were predominantly of white. And so it wasn't very difficult to plan because these students had, there weren't, I guess, that many needs to reach out to. And so coming here, I had to address very diverse cultures since it is a language academy and it is a magnet school, so it brings students from all over the city, all around with different academic needs as well. And so I had to create lesson plans that address diverse cultural and academic experiences in a single setting. So not only did I have to take in their academic experiences, but also that cultural experience as well. And so one thing I did was I planned a Hispanic Heritage Month unit with my cooperating teacher. And so we addressed different Hispanic nationalities. So we talked about the Mexican culture, Puerto Rican, Cubans, etc. And I think that was a very enlightening process for the students as well. And then some of the students could relate to that also. Also, we talked about Thanksgiving traditions, so not everybody eats turkey on Thanksgiving. So we branched out on different foods that different students ate. We talked about it. We read some books. My teacher had a really creative chart that had different families and the different foods that they eat. And so what I learned about teaching was that not only should you come without assumptions in your location, because that's always not the case. You know, I was really excited to come here because of all of the technology and the resources that I assumed I was going to have, and that wasn't the case. And then about myself, that no matter how hard you think things are, especially with teaching, you can always overcome it. And I really thank my cooperating teacher and my supervisor who helped me a lot throughout the way when I had, self-doubts about my teaching. But it was all worth it in the end.